was arrested with 3 other individuals for preparation, planning and plotting of terrorism. I can only say one thing, that the ideology behind all of this is hate.
Although Hasib Hamayoun cuts a fearsome figure in the cage-fighting ring, he's come a long way. In his 20s, it was political violence that he practiced as an avowed Islamic extremist.
I was extreme, yes. If I was to say from 1 to 10, I was probably 9.
I'm gonna show you the quality of this knife, yeah? So here we go, here's the paper, and yeah, bang bang.
What did you do in Chicago which led you to have to leave America?
The neighborhood I was living in, I lived in a neighborhood where violence was skyrocketing. Why it skyrocketed? Because the city or the government decided to clean some of the neighborhoods out. The cops wouldn't dare going into that neighborhood, so they decided they're going to clean it up. And it started. That violence started spreading throughout Chicago.
Chicago's South Side. These streets are home to some of the most dangerous gangs in America. Last year, there were more murders here than in any other city in the United States. Just standing on the wrong street corner can be enough to get you killed.
I got into bad company. There's, you know, on the day, if I specifically remember it, I just said, let's go and rob somebody. It's not only because I wanted to do it, I saw other people doing it, getting away with it. And I'm thinking, all right, if they can get away with it, I need a bit of money, so let's go rob someone.
Hasib's life of crime began in Chicago. His parents migrated there from Pakistan. He wasn't a devout Muslim then, but as a teenager he became involved in a gang. In 2007, he was arrested for his part in an armed robbery, but while on bail fled to Pakistan for a year. In 2008, he arrived in Perth on a student visa. In 2011, while attending a Perth mosque, he met members of Militul Ibrahim. A group by the same name was banned in Germany in 2012.
Living in Australia was something different. Although I kind of wanted to keep myself to myself, but there were instances and times where there was so much racism happening that I couldn't get away from. You know, you're walking down the street, you're wearing your, you know, Islamic dressing, a jubba or a thobe or whatever, or a hat, just like that, and you hear in the background, hey, Mozzie's walking by, mate. So that kind of gives you, it kind of brings the hate out a little bit, that why am I being called such for just wearing a hat or my identity. There's a lot of other times where there was a pig carcass being thrown at a cemetery, you know, Muslim cemetery, specifically Muslim cemetery. A local mosque I used to attend, been vandalized, put fire upon. And this was a quite a big Muslim community living there, yet all these things were still happening.
So how often were you experiencing the racism? And this racism, what's it making you feel?
Well, it started putting perspective in my head of us versus them. So now I've experienced something, and I'm hated, so why not hate back?
Come here and rape our women and say they deserved it for not being covered up. Are you kidding me?
So all this is taking place, me coming into the religion, me practicing, me meeting these people from Militul Ibrahim at around the time where Syria thing is happening. So there's a lot of emotions involved.
And who are the people that are now influencing you?
I guess because I grew up in Chicago, I had that, you know, gangsterism in me. I've seen videos of fighting, they would show me videos of fighting, and I kind of became very interested. And it was being portrayed as this is the right thing to do. this is the correct path. You should be going to fight in Syria because your brother and sister are in need. So it came across as something Islamic. But when I kind of started understanding that, oh, it's something Islamic, let's watch this, let's see, what's happening, let's take an interest. I guess from interest, it became closeness to those friends, and by the time I'm leaving Australia, a lot of them are either in prison or restricted to see other people because of the nature of the ideology or the actions.
In 2013, Hasib married the British daughter of a Pakistani cousin and moved to London. With the help of his Australian contacts, he was introduced to like-minded Muslims and became involved in the banned extremist organisation Al Muhajirin and the linked group known as Salafi Media UK. Hasib became the group's cameraman, responsible for helping recruit extremists and ISIS supporters around the world.
How many people would have watched that propaganda that you were filming?
I mean, thousands and thousands. I was, in charge of recording these videos that are extremely extreme.
He became associated with some of the most notorious ISIS supporters in East London, such as Rustam Ziamani, who was jailed for 22 years in 2015 for planning to behead a British soldier. Ziamani launched an ISIS-inspired attack on a prison guard, and his sentence was increased to life. In 2014, Hasib was arrested in West London while buying a knife with cousins Nadir and Yosef Syed, who he'd befriended through an ISIS WhatsApp group, accused of plotting to behead a civilian on Remembrance Day. Nadir Syed was jailed for life, while Hasib spent 2 years in jail before he and Yosef were cleared by a judge because a jury failed to reach a verdict.
So you were very radical. You went into prison
extreme, yes.
Extremely radical.
I would say I was extreme if I was to say from 1 to 10, I was probably 9.
Right.
So I was extreme. Yeah. Everything that I've seen, I learned. Now I'm learning more, and that thing is built up in me, us versus them mentality, and I'm very extreme.
And how long do you spend in prison as you await the trial and all of that sort of stuff?
Now we've started getting scattered, so everybody sent to a different prison. Mm-hmm. So altogether, I had 2 trials, and I spent 2 years in prison.
And how did your views, if at all, change while you were in prison, or did they not change?
There were a lot of terrorists, some convicted, some waiting trial. There were a lot of other Muslims in prison. The Unity Initiative, or Usman's Raja, his name came up a few times. At that time, I was so focused on my trials, stressed, not knowing. I didn't take a notice, but I started to take a notice because these brothers kept talking about it. The feedback from other brothers that there's a fighting background. So there was the reputation for Usman Raja was very high, and that's what I wanted to get to know. What is all this about? What is he about? Where is he coming from? Where is he based? What's his ideology? What's his authenticity? What is it?
So when you came out of prison, would you describe yourself as still being extremely radical?
Yeah. I mean, I spent 2 years in prison thinking about the same thing. Prior to that, I spent 3 years learning about all this rubbish.
Sacrificed, their own safety and their security for standing up for Islam and for the Muslims.
Anjam Chowdhury is an extremist who demands the introduction of Islamic law in the UK and has had ties to terror attackers in the past.
When people go to prison for standing up for Islam, for resisting the foreign policy, what you will find is that they have a huge amount of respect, in fact, in prison. And people, love them, they want to listen to them. Many people embrace Islam at their hands.
For his efforts, Raja has earned the undying hatred of radicals like Chowdhury.
people like Usman Raja and others, have apostated from Islam.
They're no longer in Islam, is what you're saying?
Yes, I believe that they have, apostated, and they've gone outside of the fold of Islam because of their allegiance with the British government against the Muslim community.
But Raja is anything but a government lackey. He has earned respect the hard way. But becoming one of Britain's foremost trainers in mixed martial arts is not exactly a cakewalk.
And the left hook, beautiful.
While behind bars, Hasib heard about Usman Raja, a cage-fighting, mixed martial arts expert who's spent more than a decade rehabilitating Islamic extremists and convicted terrorists. The son of Pakistani immigrants, he grew up in a working-class town on the capital's outskirts.
What do you do when you're living?
Breathe.
Breathe. What are you doing?
Breathing.
With a street credibility hard to match, he uses cage fighting as a key part of the rehabilitation process to reform his students.
You're not going to take information from someone you don't respect. You're talking about street level guys that are part of a brotherhood.
Only one strength in the whole of the prison system in this country. It's one strength, and no one's going to master it, and that's the Islamic strength. Whether you like it or not, the force within the prison system right now is Islamic. So it's more, there's no hierarchy in the prison system. There's one group that run the prison system, and it's the Muslim fraternity. Whether you like it or not, it's fact. What's the difference with them and other groups? The solidarity. They're all for one and one for the other, like D'Artagnan and that. They've just got this, if you're in jail and you've got a white boy getting attacked by 6 Muslims, none of them's helping him. Even if they know him or don't know the white boy, no one's helping him. But if you've got a Muslim boy getting battered by 6 individuals, whether these Muslims know him or not, they're going in and helping him. And that's where their strength is. If you're the brother, you're the brother. And that's why it's becoming so dominant right through the prison system.
I wanted to see Usman.
Why? So but you wanted to change, or what did you want him to do?
To understand.
And so what happened when you started to work with Usman, and how did you change?
I think I might have mentioned when it first started, the interview first started, before my arrest, there was still that us versus them mentality, which I no longer have. I no longer have that mentality because I understand us as humans are all connected. Because the love he brought with him, the brotherhood he brought with him, he had the authenticity of a sheikh whose lineage goes all the way back to the Prophet. So I knew there's some truth to it. And that's when you have a teacher who knows what the subject is, that's when you learn. When the teacher doesn't know and they got their degree off of eBay, that's when you go wrong.
Raja's religious teacher, Sheikh Ali Qadir, who is widely respected in his Muslim community.
You want to be harsh? Harsh upon yourself. Others have compassion.
If we just align ourselves now, that thinking, feeling, and acting, synchronize them, heart, mind, coherent, align that, and relax.
It's not only about being physical, it's about I'm training my limbs, I'm training my inner body, I'm training my mind to always be at ease. Because that's what we're all chasing. We're chasing ease, we're chasing that calmness.
Usman runs the Unity Initiative with his wife Angela. They've worked with 200 convicted terrorists, Islamic fundamentalists, and returnee brides.
It's about humanisation. It's about recognising that person's humanity so that they can recognise the humanity in others.
In 2015, the pair signed a contract with the British Home Office to work with convicted terrorists in and out of jail. In 2018, they helped stop an attack on London's Oxford Street, potentially saving hundreds of lives. Their work is not without its dangers. Through interventions, the couple and reformed terrorists they've trained spend hours talking to extremists one-on-one, sometimes as authorities wait outside.
I've had to disarm guys with knives, literally guys who have pulled out knives to stab me, disarm them, and then sit with the guy afterwards while they break down into tears.
Last year, Unity decided to end its work with the Home Office.
So you said before that in terms of extremism, you are a 9 out of 10. So what is it now?
I guess it's the opposite now.
But what's the number?
I'd say probably 0.
You're 0.
0. If I was to go into negatives, it would probably be a negative number now.
Hasib has come a long way since being radicalised in Australia. He's now also working with extremists to help turn their lives around.
Are you proud of what you've done for yourself?
Absolutely. Absolutely, without a doubt. If I was to help someone change their mind about why us versus them doesn't exist, I would love to.